was really young. My mom's best friend, who sadly just passed away last week, whose name is Patty Collins Eagleson, who I love and adore, was local casting director in Boston. She happened to be working on a TV show that WGBH. Well, actually, her husband is an independent filmmaker named Jan Eagleson. They needed a little kid to be basically like an extra, so they plugged me into like a role sleeping in a bed on an independent film in Boston. She was a casting director, and she was like, oh, he was fine sleeping in the bed. So she was casting a kids science and math adventure, sort of pre-Dora the Explorer kind of show for PBS, and had me come in and audition and work with me on it. And I had, I was 7 or 8, and ended up getting the part. And, then the show went on, sort of sporadically. Luckily, it wasn't the kind of thing where I, got like carted off to Hollywood and, as a young kid, because I'm glad that I had a normal childhood and grew up in a normal way in Boston. But periodically, I would leave town and go do this series, The Voyage of the Mimi. And it was cheesy, and it was, I was embarrassed about it. It wasn't like I was coming back home and being like, yeah,
bragging about it.
I'm so cool. I've done a sailboat with my grandpa. It's like, it was not that thing.
But it was like you loved being on a set.
I did. I really loved it.
Yeah.
I loved acting. I loved. It was sort of, there is a danger with child actors. I think one of the things that happens is a kind of adultification early on, and you have to be careful of that because developmentally that's not. But I liked the responsibility. I liked being kind of feeling like I was one of the grown-ups kind of, and that I, being on time and knowing my lines and doing a good job, and it was exciting to me to be somebody else and be on camera. Now this was like, before a lot of these rules, with kids, I worked like 14-hour days. When I look back at it, I'm like, that was kind of sort of
Like
version
what?
of
Also.
like child slavery. Kidding.
You were also making matches with your tiny little hands.
Exactly. And then there was the fire, and we were locked in the basement.
Yeah.
But yes, I did like it, and it left in me. It did two things. One, it instilled in me a deep sort of love and affection for this art and craft and line of work, and it made Matt Damon so incredibly jealous. This art and craft and line of work, and it made Matt Damon so incredibly jealous.
Well, of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how you get to live your life.
Him
Yeah.
into a
Yeah.
career in cinema. So I really take